Mark had always thought his life was perfect. A beautiful wife, a successful career, and a home that was the envy of their friends. Lisa, his wife of 10 years, was the epitome of confidence and charm. She was aggressive in her pursuits, domineering in her presence, and daring in her actions. Mark admired her strength, even when it sometimes overshadowed his own. Their marriage had been a whirlwind from the start. Lisa's bold personality had swept Mark off his feet, and he had eagerly followed her lead in building a life together. But as the years passed, cracks began to form in their seemingly perfect union. Lisa's domineering nature started to feel more like control, and her daring actions often left Mark feeling left behind. One evening, as Mark returned home from a long day at work, he sensed something was off. The house was quiet, too quiet. Lisa was usually home by this time, her presence filling the rooms with energy. But tonight, there was only silence. He called out her name, his voice echoing through the empty halls. No response. He walked into their bedroom, his heart pounding with a sudden, inexplicable dread. The room was in disarray, clothes strewn across the bed, drawers half open. And then he saw it, a crumpled note on the nightstand. With trembling hands, he picked it up and read the words that would shatter his world. "Mark, I can't do this anymore. I've met someone else. I'm sorry." The words hit him like a physical blow. He sank onto the bed, the note crumpling in his fist. His mind raced with questions and disbelief. How could this happen? How could he not have seen it coming? The pain was overwhelming, a raw, gaping wound in his chest. Days turned into weeks as Mark navigated the aftermath of Lisa's betrayal. He moved through the motions of daily life in a daze, his mind constantly replaying the moment he found the note. Friends and family rallied around him, offering support and sympathy, but nothing could fill the void left by Lisa's departure. Divorce became inevitable. The legal proceedings were a blur of paperwork and meetings, each step a painful reminder of the life he had lost. Mark struggled to find his footing in this new reality, his once stable world now a chaotic mess of emotions and uncertainty. As the divorce was finalized, Mark stood alone in the empty house that had once been their home. The silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the vibrant life he had shared with Lisa. He knew he had to move forward, to rebuild and find a new purpose. But the path ahead seemed daunting and uncertain, a journey he never thought he'd have to take. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a story filled with unexpected twists and turns, a journey that would test his strength and resilience in ways he never imagined. The days following the divorce were a blur of legalities and logistics. Mark found himself adrift in a sea of uncertainty, his once stable life now a distant memory. The house, once filled with laughter and warmth, echoed with emptiness. Every corner held a reminder of Lisa, a ghost of the life they had shared. He knew he had to move on, to rebuild and find a new purpose, but the path ahead seemed daunting. Mark decided to sell the house. It was a painful decision, but he knew it was necessary. The memories were too raw, too painful to bear. He packed up his belongings, each item a reminder of the life he had lost, and moved into a small apartment downtown. The change of scenery was jarring, but it was a step forward, a chance to start anew. His career became his lifeline. Mark threw himself into his work, using it as a distraction from the pain and emptiness. He took on new projects, worked longer hours, and pushed himself harder than ever before. His colleagues noticed the change, his newfound drive and determination. They admired his resilience, his ability to rise from the ashes of his personal life and channel his energy into his work. But it wasn't just his career that Mark focused on. He also turned his attention to personal growth. He joined a gym, started eating healthier, and even took up meditation. The physical and mental discipline helped him cope with the emotional turmoil, giving him a sense of control and purpose. He read self-help books, attended seminars, and sought the advice of therapists and life coaches. Slowly but surely, Mark began to heal. The pain of Lisa's betrayal was still there, a constant ache in his heart, but it was no longer all-consuming. He found solace in his new routine, in the structure and purpose it provided. He reconnected with old friends, made new ones, and even started dating again, albeit cautiously. Yet, despite his progress, there were moments when the pain would resurface, catching him off guard. A song on the radio, a familiar scent, a place they had visited together, each a reminder of the life he had lost. But Mark refused to let these moments derail him. He acknowledged the pain, allowed himself to feel it, and then let it go, focusing instead on the present and the future. 2 years passed in a whirlwind of change and growth. Mark had transformed, both physically and emotionally. He was stronger, more resilient, and more at peace with himself than he had ever been. He had built a new life, one that was fulfilling and meaningful, and he was proud of how far he had come. And then, out of the blue, he received a message from Lisa. It was short, to the point, and completely unexpected. She wanted to meet to talk. Mark hesitated, his mind racing with questions and doubts. Why now? What did she want? Was he ready to face her again? He pondered the decision for days, weighing the pros and cons, the potential risks and rewards. He sought the advice of friends, of his therapist, even of his own heart. And finally, he made his choice. He would meet her, not out of a desire to rekindle their relationship, but out of a need for closure, for answers, and perhaps, for a chance to show her the man he had become. The day of their meeting arrived, and Mark found himself standing outside a small cafe, his heart pounding in his chest. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come, and walked inside. Lisa was already there, sitting at a table by the window, her eyes filled with a mix of anxiety and hope. As he approached, he couldn't help but notice the changes in her. She looked tired, worn down, a shadow of the vibrant, domineering woman he had once known. He sat down across from her, his expression neutral, his emotions carefully guarded. Lisa began to speak, her voice trembling with emotion. She admitted that her life had fallen apart since their divorce. Her lover had left her, she had lost her job, and she was struggling to make ends meet. She was desperate, she said, and she needed his help. Mark listened, his expression unreadable. He felt a mix of emotions, anger, satisfaction, pity, but he kept them carefully hidden. He had expected this, had prepared for it, and he knew exactly what he was going to do. Instead of simply refusing or agreeing to help, Mark offered her a loan. But it wasn't a gesture of kindness or sympathy. It was a business proposition, one with strict terms and conditions. Lisa was taken aback, her eyes widening in surprise. She had expected him to refuse, to turn her away, not to offer her a lifeline with strings attached. But Mark was adamant. He laid out his terms, his voice steady and confident. He would help her, but she would have to agree to his conditions. Lisa hesitated, her pride warring with her desperation. But in the end, she had no choice. She agreed, sealing her fate and setting in motion a chain of events that neither of them could have predicted. As they left the cafe, Mark couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. He was in control now, the one holding the reins. It was a feeling he had never experienced in their marriage, and he found that he liked it. But little did he know, this new dynamic would bring with it a whole new set of challenges and revelations, forcing him to confront his own motives and desires. Mark left the cafe with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The meeting with Lisa had been unexpected, but he had handled it with a calm and control that surprised even himself. He had offered her a loan, but not out of kindness or sympathy. It was a calculated move, a way to assert his newfound power and regain some of the control he had lost in their marriage. Over the next few days, Mark drew up the loan agreement, detailing the terms and conditions with meticulous care. He wasn't going to make this easy for Lisa. The interest rate was high, the repayment schedule aggressive, and the consequences for defaulting severe. He wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand the position she had put herself in. When they met again to sign the papers, Lisa looked nervous but resigned. She scanned the document, her eyes widening at the harsh terms, but she didn't protest. She signed her name with a shaky hand, sealing their agreement and placing herself firmly under Mark's control. As the days turned into weeks, Mark found himself in a position he had never been in before. He was the one in charge, the one calling the shots. It was a heady feeling, a mix of satisfaction and power that he found intoxicating. He kept a close eye on Lisa, monitoring her progress and ensuring she adhered to their agreement. But as time went on, Mark began to notice something unexpected. Lisa was changing. The aggressive, domineering woman he had known was gone, replaced by someone more humble, more vulnerable. She worked tirelessly to meet the loan repayments, taking on any job she could find, no matter how menial. She was determined, but in a way that was vastly different from the bold, reckless ambition she had once possessed. Mark watched this transformation with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. He had expected Lisa to struggle, to resent him for the position he had put her in. But instead, she seemed grateful, almost relieved. She thanked him for his help, for giving her a chance to rebuild her life, and she meant it. This new dynamic between them was unsettling. Mark had expected to feel vindicated, to enjoy seeing Lisa brought low. But instead, he found himself feeling increasingly uncomfortable. The power he held over her was satisfying, but it also brought with it a responsibility he hadn't anticipated. He saw the toll the loan was taking on her, the strain and exhaustion etched on her face, and he couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. One evening, as Mark sat alone in his apartment, he found himself reflecting on the past few weeks. He thought about Lisa, about the changes he had seen in her, and about his own feelings. He realized that the anger and desire for revenge that had once consumed him were fading, replaced by a growing sense of unease. He thought back to a conversation he had with a mutual friend, someone who had known both him and Lisa for years. The friend had been surprised by Mark's actions, by the harsh terms of the loan and his seemingly cold attitude towards Lisa. "Is this really what you want, Mark?" the friend had asked. "To keep her in debt, to control her like this?" The question had struck a chord, forcing Mark to confront his true motives. Was he doing this for revenge, to punish Lisa for her past actions? Or was he doing it for himself, to prove his own strength and resilience? The more he thought about it, the more he realized that his actions were driven by a mix of both, a tangled web of emotions and desires that he was only just beginning to understand. As the days passed, Mark found himself wrestling with these thoughts, torn between his desire for control and his growing discomfort with the situation. He watched Lisa struggle, saw the genuine effort she was putting into rebuilding her life, and he couldn't help but admire her determination. And then, one day, he made a decision. He couldn't keep doing this, couldn't keep holding Lisa hostage to his own desires. He needed to let go, to find a way to move forward that didn't involve keeping her in debt. It was a difficult realization, a painful acknowledgement of his own flaws and weaknesses. But it was also a step towards healing, towards finding the peace and freedom he had been searching for. With a heavy heart, Mark sat down to rewrite the loan agreement, softening the terms and easing the burden on Lisa. It was a risk, a gamble that she might take advantage of his kindness. But it was also a chance for him to let go of the past, to move forward with a clear conscience and an open heart. And as he signed the new agreement, he felt a sense of relief, a weight lifted from his shoulders. He was finally ready to let go, to forgive, and to find his own path to redemption. Mark sat at his desk, the revised loan agreement laid out before him. The decision to soften the terms had not been an easy one. It went against the initial satisfaction he had felt in holding the reins, in having Lisa in a position of dependence. But the more he saw her struggle, the more he recognized the change in her, the harder it became to justify his actions. He remembered the day he had first seen the cracks in Lisa's domineering facade. It was a subtle shift, a moment of vulnerability that had caught him off guard. She had been tired, her eyes ringed with dark circles, her usually immaculate appearance slightly disheveled. It was a side of her he had never seen before, a stark contrast to the bold, confident woman he had known. That moment had stayed with him, gnawing at the edges of his resolve. He had started to question his motives, to wonder if the path he was on was truly the one he wanted to follow. The conversation with their mutual friend had only amplified these doubts, forcing him to confront the reality of his actions. As he picked up the pen to sign the new agreement, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. This was the right thing to do, not just for Lisa, but for himself. He needed to let go of the anger and the desire for revenge that had been consuming him. He needed to find peace, to move forward with a clear conscience. The next time they met, Mark handed Lisa the revised agreement without a word. She looked at him, confusion and surprise warring in her eyes. She scanned the document, her expression shifting from disbelief to relief as she took in the changes. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Mark hesitated, searching for the right words. "Because I can't keep doing this," he said finally. "I can't keep holding you hostage to my own desires. It's not who I want to be." Lisa looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of gratitude and regret. "Thank you," she said simply, her voice thick with emotion. Over the following weeks, Mark found himself in a strange new dynamic with Lisa. They met regularly to discuss the loan, but the tension that had once filled their interactions was gone, replaced by a cautious civility. Lisa worked diligently to meet the new terms, her determination unwavering. She was grateful for the chance to rebuild her life, and she showed it in every action. Mark watched her progress with a mix of pride and relief. He saw the genuine effort she was putting into turning her life around, and he couldn't help but admire her resilience. She was no longer the aggressive, domineering woman he had known, but someone softer, more humble. It was a change he had never expected to see, and it forced him to confront his own preconceptions. As the days turned into weeks, Mark found himself reflecting on his own journey. He thought about the pain of Lisa's betrayal, the struggle to rebuild his life, and the satisfaction he had initially felt in holding the reins. But he also thought about the path he was on now, the choice he had made to let go of the anger and the desire for revenge. He realized that true freedom didn't come from holding on to the past, from keeping Lisa in debt to his own desires. It came from letting go, from forgiving and moving forward. It was a difficult lesson, a painful acknowledgement of his own flaws and weaknesses. But it was also a step towards healing, towards finding the peace and redemption he had been searching for. One evening, as Mark sat alone in his apartment, he found himself thinking about the future. For the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of optimism, a belief that he could truly move on from the past and build a life that was fulfilling and meaningful. He thought about Lisa, about the changes he had seen in her, and about the role he had played in her journey. He realized that he no longer felt the need to control her, to keep her in a position of dependence. He wanted her to succeed, to rebuild her life and find her own path to redemption. And he wanted to be a part of that journey, not as a controller or a punisher, but as a supporter and a friend. With this newfound clarity, Mark made a decision. He would help Lisa recover, not for her sake, but for his own peace of mind. He would support her, guide her, and be there for her as she rebuilt her life. It was a risk, a gamble that she might take advantage of his kindness. But it was also a chance for him to find his own redemption, to let go of the past and move forward with a clear conscience and an open heart. As he made this commitment to himself, Mark felt a sense of relief wash over him. He was finally ready to let go, to forgive, and to find his own path to healing. And as he looked towards the future, he felt a sense of optimism and hope that he hadn't felt in a long time. He was ready to move on, to build a new life, and to find the peace and freedom he had been searching for. Mark's decision to help Lisa recover was a turning point, not just for her, but for him as well. He had spent so long consumed by anger and the desire for revenge that he had lost sight of who he truly was. But now, with a clearer mind and a lighter heart, he was ready to support Lisa in her journey towards redemption. Their meetings became more frequent, but the dynamic between them had shifted. There was no longer a power struggle, no underlying tension. Instead, there was a mutual respect, a shared goal of rebuilding and moving forward. Mark offered Lisa guidance and support, helping her find better job opportunities and manage her finances more effectively. He listened to her struggles, offered advice when she asked for it, and celebrated her victories with her. Lisa, for her part, was grateful for Mark's help. She worked tirelessly to turn her life around, taking on every challenge with a determination that was both humbling and inspiring. She was no longer the domineering, aggressive woman Mark had known. Instead, she was softer, more vulnerable, and more open to accepting help and guidance. One day, as they sat in a quiet cafe, discussing Lisa's progress, Mark noticed the dark circles under her eyes, the slight tremor in her hands. She looked exhausted, worn down by the constant struggle to keep up with the demands of her new life. He felt a pang of concern, a protective instinct that surprised him. "Lisa, are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of fatigue and determination. "I'm just tired," she admitted. "It's been a lot, trying to juggle everything. But I'm managing." Mark hesitated, then reached out to gently touch her hand. "You don't have to do this alone, you know," he said. "It's okay to ask for help, to take a break when you need it." Lisa looked at him, surprise and gratitude warring in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly. "I don't know what I would do without you." That moment marked a shift in their relationship. They were no longer just ex-spouses bound by a loan agreement. They were friends, partners in a shared journey towards redemption and healing. Mark found himself looking forward to their meetings, to the chance to catch up and offer his support. He admired Lisa's strength and resilience, her unwavering determination to turn her life around. But as the days turned into weeks, Mark began to notice something else. Behind Lisa's brave facade, there was a deep-seated fear, a vulnerability that she was trying hard to hide. He saw it in the way she would sometimes flinch at sudden noises, in the way she would look over her shoulder, as if expecting someone to be there. He saw it in the rare moments when her guard was down, when the weight of her past actions and their consequences seemed to crush her. Mark realized that Lisa's struggle was more than just financial or professional. It was emotional, a battle against the guilt and shame of her past actions. She was haunted by the choices she had made, by the pain she had caused, and by the fear of what the future might hold. One evening, as they walked through a nearby park, Mark decided to address the elephant in the room. He turned to Lisa, his expression serious. "Lisa, I need to ask you something," he said. She looked at him, her eyes wary. "What is it? Are you seeing someone?" he asked gently. "A therapist, I mean. Someone to help you deal with everything that's happened?" Lisa looked away, her expression shuddered. "I can't afford it," she admitted. "And besides, I don't deserve it. I did this to myself, Mark. I deserve to suffer for it." Mark's heart ached at her words. He reached out, gently turning her to face him. "Lisa, listen to me," he said, his voice firm. "You made mistakes, yes. But you're paying for them. You're working so hard to turn your life around, to make things right. You deserve to heal, to find peace. And you can't do that alone." Lisa looked at him, her eyes filled with unshed tears. "You really believe that?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I do," Mark said, his voice steady and sure. "And I want to help you. Let me help you find someone to talk to, someone who can help you work through this. Please." Lisa hesitated, then nodded, a single tear slipping down her cheek. "Okay," she said softly. "Thank you, Mark. For everything." As they walked back to their cars, Mark felt a sense of purpose and determination. He was committed to helping Lisa heal, to supporting her in every way he could. He knew the road ahead would be challenging, that there would be setbacks and struggles. But he also knew that they could face them together, that they could find healing and redemption side by side. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose, Mark set out to help Lisa find the support she needed. He was determined to see her through this journey, to help her find the peace and happiness she deserved. And in doing so, he knew he would find his own healing, his own path to redemption. Mark's commitment to helping Lisa find the support she needed became his top priority. He spent hours researching therapists and support groups, determined to find the right fit for her. He knew that healing was a deeply personal journey, and he wanted to ensure that Lisa had the best possible guidance and support. After careful consideration, Mark found a therapist who specialized in helping individuals deal with the emotional aftermath of significant life changes. He shared the therapist's information with Lisa, encouraging her to reach out and schedule an appointment. Lisa, though initially hesitant, agreed to give it a try. The first few sessions were challenging for Lisa. She struggled to open up about her feelings of guilt and shame, but the therapist's gentle and non-judgmental approach slowly helped her lower her defenses. Mark noticed a gradual change in Lisa's demeanor. She seemed lighter, more at ease with herself. Meanwhile, Mark continued to support Lisa in other ways. He helped her find a stable job that offered better pay and benefits, and he assisted her in securing more reliable housing. Lisa's life began to stabilize, and with each step forward, her confidence grew. She started to see a future for herself, one that wasn't defined by her past mistakes. As Lisa's healing progressed, so did Mark's own journey. He found that helping Lisa was also helping him. He began to see the value in forgiveness and the power of redemption. He realized that holding on to anger and resentment only hurt himself, and that letting go allowed him to find peace and move forward. One evening, as they sat in Mark's apartment, sharing a meal and catching up on their week, Lisa turned to Mark with a soft smile. "You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful for everything that's happened," she said. "It's been hard, but it's also been a chance to grow and change. And I couldn't have done it without you." Mark looked at her, his heart swelling with a mix of pride and affection. "I'm glad I could help," he said. "And I'm proud of you, Lisa. You've come so far." Lisa reached out and took Mark's hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "Thank you, Mark, for everything." In that moment, Mark felt a profound sense of peace. He knew that he had made the right choice in helping Lisa, in supporting her on her journey to redemption. And he knew that, in doing so, he had also found his own path to healing and forgiveness. As the days turned into weeks, Mark and Lisa continued to support each other, their bond growing stronger with each shared experience. They laughed together, cried together, and celebrated each other's victories. They were no longer just ex-spouses. They were friends, partners in a shared journey towards healing and growth. And as they looked towards the future, they did so with hope and optimism, knowing that they had each other's support and understanding. They had weathered the storm together, and they had emerged stronger and more resilient. They were ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold, side by side, with courage and determination. As the seasons changed, so did the dynamics of Mark and Lisa's relationship. They had traversed a rocky path, from betrayal and divorce to a place of mutual support and understanding. The journey had been fraught with challenges, but it had also brought them to a place of healing and growth. Lisa's therapy sessions continued to be a cornerstone of her recovery. She delved deep into her past, confronting the choices that had led her to this point. With each session, she emerged stronger, more self-aware, and more determined to build a future that reflected her true values and aspirations. Mark, too, found himself evolving. His initial desire for control and revenge had long since dissipated, replaced by a genuine desire to see Lisa thrive. He found joy in her successes and pride in her resilience. Their interactions were no longer tinged with the bitterness of the past but were instead filled with a shared sense of purpose and camaraderie. One sunny afternoon, as they strolled through a local park, Lisa turned to Mark with a thoughtful expression. "You know, I've been thinking," she said. "I want to do something meaningful with my life. Something that helps others." Mark looked at her, intrigued. "What do you have in mind?" Lisa paused, her eyes scanning the horizon as if searching for the right words. "I want to start a support group," she said finally. "For people who have gone through similar experiences, divorce, betrayal, loss. I want to create a space where they can find support and healing, just like I have." Mark felt a surge of pride and admiration. "That's an incredible idea, Lisa," he said. "And I think you'd be amazing at it. You have so much to offer, so much wisdom and experience." Lisa smiled, her eyes shining with determination. "Thank you, Mark. Your support means the world to me. I couldn't have come this far without you." Over the following weeks, Lisa threw herself into her new project with unwavering dedication. She researched, planned, and networked, determined to bring her vision to life. Mark supported her every step of the way, offering advice, encouragement, and practical help whenever he could. The support group, which Lisa named New Beginnings, quickly gained traction. People from all walks of life, each with their own story of loss and redemption, began to gather, finding solace and strength in their shared experiences. Lisa led the group with compassion and insight, her own journey serving as a beacon of hope and inspiration. Mark watched Lisa's transformation with a mix of awe and pride. She had come so far, from a place of despair and guilt to a place of purpose and fulfillment. He knew that he had played a role in her journey, but he also knew that her strength and resilience were her own. She had fought her way back from the brink, and she had emerged stronger and more compassionate than ever. As the support group grew, so did Lisa's confidence and sense of purpose. She found joy in helping others, in guiding them through their own journeys of healing and growth. And as she did so, she continued to heal herself, shedding the last remnants of guilt and shame that had once weighed her down. One evening, as they sat in Mark's apartment, sharing a quiet dinner, Lisa turned to him with a soft smile. "You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm truly happy," she said. "I've found my purpose, my passion. And I owe so much of it to you." Mark looked at her, his heart swelling with affection and pride. "You did this, Lisa," he said. "You fought your way back, and you found your path. I'm just glad I could be a part of it." As they looked towards the future, Mark and Lisa knew that they had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. They had found healing, purpose, and a deep, abiding friendship that transcended the pain of the past. And as they continued to support each other, they did so with a shared sense of hope, determination, and love. As Lisa's support group, New Beginnings, continued to flourish, Mark found himself reflecting more deeply on his own journey. He had come a long way from the man he was when Lisa first left him. The pain and betrayal had once consumed him, driving him to seek control and revenge. But now, he saw the world through a different lens, one of forgiveness, healing, and growth. One evening, as Mark sat alone in his apartment, he found himself thinking about the future. He had supported Lisa through her darkest times, helping her find her path to redemption and purpose. But he also knew that their journey together was coming to a natural end. They had both grown and changed, and it was time for them to move forward independently. Mark decided it was time to have an open and honest conversation with Lisa. He invited her over for dinner, preparing a simple meal they both enjoyed. As they sat down to eat, Mark took a deep breath, steeling himself for what he needed to say. "Lisa, there's something I've been thinking about," he began, his voice steady but gentle. "I've watched you grow and change over these past months, and I'm incredibly proud of the person you've become. You've found your purpose, your passion, and you're helping so many people through your support group." Lisa looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Mark. I couldn't have done it without you." Mark smiled softly. "You did this, Lisa. You fought your way back, and you found your path. And now I think it's time for both of us to move forward, independently." Lisa's expression shifted, a mix of surprise and understanding in her eyes. "What do you mean?" she asked softly. "I mean that it's time for us to let go of the past completely," Mark said. "We've both grown and changed, and we've found our own paths to healing and redemption. But I think it's time for us to walk those paths separately." Lisa nodded slowly, a soft smile playing on her lips. "You're right," she said. "We've come so far together, but it's time for us to stand on our own. I understand, Mark. And I'm grateful for everything you've done for me." Mark reached out and took Lisa's hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "You've given me so much too, Lisa. You've shown me the power of forgiveness, the strength that comes from letting go of the past. And I'll always be grateful for that." As they finished their meal, Mark and Lisa talked openly about their plans for the future. Lisa was determined to expand her support group, to reach more people and offer them the same hope and healing she had found. Mark, on the other hand, was looking forward to focusing on his career and personal growth, exploring new hobbies and interests that he had long put aside. In the days that followed, Mark and Lisa began to disentangle their lives, each taking steps towards their own independent futures. They supported each other through the process, offering encouragement and understanding as they navigated this new chapter. One sunny afternoon, as they walked through the park where they had shared so many conversations, Lisa turned to Mark with a soft smile. "You know, I never thought we'd get to this place," she said, "where we could let go of the past and move forward as friends." Mark looked at her, his heart filled with a sense of peace and closure. "Neither did I," he said. "But I'm glad we did. And I'm proud of the journey we've taken to get here." As they said their goodbyes that day, Mark and Lisa knew that they were closing a chapter of their lives, one filled with pain, growth, and ultimately healing. They had weathered the storm together, and they had emerged stronger and more resilient. And as they looked towards the future, they did so with hope, determination, and a deep, abiding friendship that would always bind them together. With their past firmly behind them, Mark and Lisa embraced their newfound independence with a sense of optimism and excitement. They had both been through a tumultuous journey, but they had emerged stronger and more resilient, ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. Mark threw himself into his work with renewed vigor. He took on new projects, explored innovative ideas, and pushed himself to achieve more than he ever thought possible. His colleagues noticed the change in him, a newfound confidence and determination that was infectious. He became a mentor to younger colleagues, sharing his experiences and offering guidance and support. Outside of work, Mark also began to explore new hobbies and interests. He joined a local hiking group, finding solace and peace in the great outdoors. He took up photography, capturing the beauty of the world around him and sharing his work with friends and family. He even started volunteering at a local community center, using his skills and experiences to help others in need. Lisa, meanwhile, was thriving in her role as the leader of New Beginnings. The support group continued to grow, attracting more and more people seeking healing and redemption. Lisa's passion and dedication were evident in every meeting, every conversation. She created a safe space where people could share their stories, their struggles, and their triumphs. She became a beacon of hope and inspiration, guiding others through their own journeys of healing and growth. As Lisa's influence grew, she began to receive invitations to speak at conferences and events, sharing her story and the lessons she had learned along the way. She wrote articles for magazines and blogs, offering insights and advice to those going through similar experiences. She even started working on a book, chronicling her journey and the stories of those she had helped along the way. Despite their independent paths, Mark and Lisa remained close friends. They would often meet for coffee or lunch, catching up on each other's lives and offering support and encouragement. Their conversations were filled with laughter, shared memories, and a deep sense of mutual respect and admiration. They had both been through so much, and they had emerged stronger and more compassionate as a result. One sunny afternoon, as they sat in a bustling cafe, Lisa turned to Mark with a soft smile. "You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm truly happy," she said. "I've found my purpose, my passion, and I'm making a difference in the world. And I owe so much of it to you." Mark looked at her, his heart filled with pride and affection. "You did this, Lisa," he said. "You fought your way back, and you found your path. And I'm so proud of the person you've become." Lisa reached out and took Mark's hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "Thank you, Mark, for everything. You've been an incredible friend, and I'll always be grateful for that." As they looked towards the future, Mark and Lisa knew that they had both found their true paths. They had weathered the storm together, and they had emerged stronger and more resilient. And as they continued to support each other, they did so with a shared sense of hope, determination, and love. Mark found himself reflecting on the journey they had taken, from the pain of betrayal to the joy of redemption and healing. He realized that true freedom came not from holding on to the past, but from letting go and moving forward. He had found peace, purpose, and a deep sense of fulfillment, and he knew that he would carry those lessons with him for the rest of his life. And so, with a heart full of gratitude and a spirit full of hope, Mark embraced the future, ready to face whatever challenges and adventures lay ahead. He knew that he had the strength, the resilience, and the support of true friends to guide him along the way. And he knew that, no matter what the future held, he was ready to face it with courage, determination, and an open heart. As the seasons changed and time marched on, Mark and Lisa continued to thrive in their new lives. They had both found purpose and fulfillment, and their friendship remained a constant source of support and encouragement. However, they both knew that the time had come to fully embrace their independence and let go of the past once and for all. One crisp autumn afternoon, Mark suggested they meet at the park where they had shared so many meaningful conversations. The leaves were turning golden and red, crunching underfoot as they walked side by side. The air was cool and refreshing, a stark contrast to the warmth of their shared history. As they strolled along the familiar path, Mark turned to Lisa with a soft smile. "Lisa, I've been thinking a lot lately," he began, his voice steady but gentle. "About our journey, about how far we've both come. And I think it's time for us to say a final goodbye." Lisa looked at him, her eyes filled with a mix of understanding and sadness. "I know," she said softly. "It's time for us to fully embrace our new lives, to let go of the past completely." Mark nodded, his heart filled with a sense of peace and closure. "We've both found our paths, our purposes," he said. "And we've supported each other every step of the way. But now, it's time for us to walk those paths independently, to fully embrace the future without looking back." Lisa reached out and took Mark's hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. "You're right," she said. "And I'm so grateful for everything you've done for me, Mark. You've been an incredible friend, and I'll always cherish the journey we've taken together." As they walked, they reminisced about the past, the good times, the challenges, and the lessons they had learned along the way. They laughed and cried, their emotions a mix of joy, sadness, and gratitude. They had shared so much, and they had both grown and changed as a result. Finally, they reached the spot where they had first decided to let go of the past and move forward as friends. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their shared history hanging in the air between them. Then, with a soft smile, Lisa turned to Mark and said, "Goodbye, Mark. Thank you for everything." Mark looked at her, his heart filled with a deep sense of peace and closure. "Goodbye, Lisa," he said. "I wish you all the best in your new life. And remember, true freedom comes from letting go and moving forward." With a final hug, they parted ways, each walking in opposite directions. As Mark walked away, he felt a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. He had let go of the past, forgiven the pain, and found his true path to healing and redemption. And he knew that Lisa had done the same. As he looked towards the future, Mark knew that he was ready to embrace whatever challenges and adventures lay ahead. He had the strength, the resilience, and the support of true friends to guide him along the way. And he knew that, no matter what the future held, he was ready to face it with courage, determination, and an open heart. And so, with a heart full of gratitude and a spirit full of hope, Mark stepped into the future, ready to create a new chapter in his life, one filled with purpose, passion, and true freedom.